Released back in January of 2021 to critical acclaim, Olija has hit Xbox Game Pass 1 year later. At first glance and feel, things seem rather basic, and I wouldn't be surprised if many bounced off it after the first 10 minutes. I was engaged immediately by the game's use of its low-count pixel art though, and stuck with it, and boy, am I glad that I did. The basic premise for the game is that you are Lord Faraday, and your crew are attacked while at sea and awakened trapped in a strange land which is ruled over the eponymous Olija. You must find 3 blue keys to open the Shadow Gate and go home. To do this though, you will wield by far the most satisfying part of the game, which is the spear. Using its mystical, accursed power, you can dash to the spear at any time, and it is immensely satisfying in both the combat and traversal of the game. It takes a short amount of time to get, and once you do, what is an okay-feeling side-scroller becomes one that is fantastic to play. You have A for jump, X is your main attack, Y for secondary, of which you eventually have 4. B is to throw and dash to your spear. Right trigger is to dive left or right, and left bumper changes your secondary. It's a tried and true control scheme that felt great once I had unlocked the first few upgrades. There's a small crafting and inventory system as well, which is mostly for your ammo on secondary weapons and your magical hats. These give you special abilities used by a meter which is tied to your spear attack. Some felt a lot more powerful than others, and the fact that I couldn't change hats mid-run did lead to me backtracking to my boat more than a few times to change things up. The combat ends up feeling extremely satisfying using a very light combo system, where you'll get up to 4 pips which appear above your character, which will then fully empower your next attack in various ways, depending on what weapon you use. There is a weight to every hit though that makes you feel powerful. You'll send foes flying into walls, smashing to bits in the process, and while the range attacks worked off ammo, it was generally plentiful enough that I never hesitated to use it. This is not a very long game, as I beat it in roughly 4 to 4.5 hours, but it works well as it doesn't overstay its welcome with either the combat or the exploration, and especially story-wise. That story itself was engaging and emotional, despite there being little to no voice acting. The music adds a lot to the atmosphere of it all, and while the location variety didn't change up too much, the short runtime kept that from being a distraction. You're never given much direction, but the solid level layout had me on the right track for the majority of my playthrough, though I did have a little backtracking here and there trying to figure things out. The game features numerous basic puzzles that help break up the flow of things nicely, eventually mixing in all of your abilities in a satisfying way, though there were some difficulty spikes out of nowhere a few times. This was especially true on the end boss, where I was stuck wearing a hat that just wasn't very useful against them, and I had no way of changing it. In conclusion, as this game is available on Game Pass, if you're into 2D action platformers, then I highly recommend it. It is a solid 4 to 5 hours of excellent combat in a genre that rarely feels this heavy. That goes for the story as well, which uses a minimalist style to tell a tale of lonely sadness. Olija doesn't give the best first impression, but if you stick with it, I think that you will end up having one hell of a good time. If you like what we do, you can help us out at patreon.com/XboxEra. That is by far the best way to help our channel grow. We'll see you here next time on XboxEra.